Hey everyone, Apex Legends Season 19 is just a couple weeks away, which does mean it is time to break down everything that we know so far between recent confirmations such as that new legend, rumors, and some leaks that all relate to the next season. November is generally one of the bigger content seasons, as in the past, we have gotten a new map at the launch of every fall season. Not to mention, we are coming off of Season 18, which in some ways was a little light on content. No new legend, no new weapon, no map changes, and really just a handful of existing meta tweaks. In regards to the theme of Season 19, the name of the season is called Ignite per Respawn themselves, and that recent trailer that did just drop. We can also see the dev team is making some mention of a passing storm, which might give some hints as to our new map situation, and we will discuss more on this shortly. Like I just mentioned, we also just had a Story of the Outlands trailer, which informs all of us about that backstory of our newest legend, Conduit. It was pretty much guaranteed or expected that we would be getting acquainted with a new legend in Season 19, as Season 18 saw just a Revenant rework. Conduit also is not exactly a surprise either, as she has been long rumored way back to that massive Season 12 leak, and even a brief leak that was around just after the launch of Apex Legends. It's crazy how far ahead some of these things actually can be thought out. Confirmation on her abilities will be coming in the near future, and I don't really feel comfortable sharing any leaks on her kit because frankly, a lot of leaks lately have just been wrong, as they have pretty old or outdated information. We have seen in the past where maybe the new legend's name or the class of legend is correct, but since the rumor or leak is old, the abilities are actually going to be different. We saw this with Catalyst when she was rumored to be able to create physical ramps and walls, and everyone said she was the Fortnite character of Apex. In reality, she still has walls, but in a very different way than it was initially leaked, so I don't want to go too much more into Conduit. It has now been 3 seasons since Apex Legends saw a new weapon, which does mean it could be time for a new gun to enter the fold. I personally don't think we are going to get a new weapon, as the weapon meta is pretty full right now, and Respawn has greatly slowed down on adding new guns. However, there are a couple continuing rumors or guns that could be coming, if not in Season 19, then more than likely in Season 20 or beyond. The first is some sort of knives or more cosmetic type weapon. I think this is kind of similar to the way the throwing knife was introduced to Gunrun, and it won't necessarily be something that you are picking up in-game. Second to this, and the more likely option, is going to be a crossbow that shoots multiple arrows. We saw this way back in that Season 12 leak, where it was more or less pasted onto the side of a Havoc. It might make some sense for this to come into the game finally, to get the bow check out of the care package, and maybe give the arrow ammo type a little bit more viability on the ground. Either way, this is such an old leak that I would be very reluctant to guarantee that this is on the way, but again, it has been getting some more traction as of late. As a whole, a new weapon once a year seems to be a much healthier way to make the game feel a little bit different and new, while you're not completely blowing out and changing the meta non-stop like they were kind of doing every season in the past. For the first year ever, we really don't have any definitive news on the new map of Season 19. This can mean one of two things. One, we're not going to get a new map and we're just going to get changes to an existing map, or two, Respawn has really found ways to plug the holes of leaks and data miners, which honestly, I would be down for. The less I know, or the less we know about a new season, I think it's just way more exciting, even if it does make my job a lot harder as I can't prepare to make content. Let's start with what I think is the more likely option, and it is no new map. Typically, after a new map does get released, it gets updates about 2 seasons later. Season 7's Olympus saw updates in Season 9, and Season 11's Stormpoint saw tweaks in Season 13. However, Season 15's Broken Moon did not see any changes in Season 17, and obviously no changes in this past season, Season 18. So in some sense, it kind of makes the most logical thought process that we will be getting some much needed updates to Broken Moon. Second option is the map that we kind of already know Respawn is working on due to their website updates, and honestly, this is probably the most likely outcome, as the devs have already hinted at that a storm is lifting, and this is of course on Stormpoint. Stormpoint had a big weather event that was ramping up at the end of Season 17, and for the entirety of Season 18, the map has been out of rotation. There was even in-game lore and hints that the map was going to be taken offline, and it makes sense. The storm is raging. We need to wait for it to pass before returning the Apex games to this map. What changes and how drastic they are going to be is still unknown. Perhaps though, we are going to even get a double feature of map adjustments having equal focus on Stormpoint and Broken Moon. I've also thought that for a while now, having more mid-season map updates would be nice. We used to always get a new POI during the mid-season, such as Big Mod or Lifeline's POI on Olympus, Labs on Kings Canyon, but ever since say Season 7 or 8, the mid-season map updates really have been pretty rare, and they've only been coming once every like few seasons. The third option is something that we definitely need to go over, and is of course a new map, and there have been very subtle links to Titanfall over the past year or so, some sneaky lines that were posted in the patch notes, plus the most recent trailer trailer for Conduit had a ton of Titan action. Also, there has been some leaks pointing towards getting a massive city-like map. Angel City specifically links back to Titanfall, and honestly, I would love to have a map that is centered around close quarters combat and that dual type of approach where maybe you can play on the rooftops for more long range, and then you're fighting in and around streets for close quarters combat. I also love Titanfall. As a day one Titanfall 1 player, this would be really cool to see, to have this big city map come into the game, and it would make Apex really come full circle. Either way, when it comes to a new map or existing map changes, let me know what you would like to see the most in the comments down below. Do we need a 6th map? I think we as Apex players are pretty spoiled to have 5 maps right now that for the most part play pretty decently to amazing, and this is all when Apex's competition can barely maintain 1 map at a time. Lots more to talk about between game modes, LTMs, cosmetics, cross progression, and more, but continuing with legend and weapon adjustments, we have what I deem are to be a handful of expected meta changes. These are mostly feelings that I have towards Apex and what I think Respawn might be working on, plus trends that I have noticed over the past few years. For Legends, let's start off with the rumored Lifeline Reborn. I personally am not sure about this, but it has been floating around. In some cases, it makes logical sense as Lifeline, since she had her revive shield removed, and before that, fast heals never really felt quite the same. She lacks power compared to alternative revive-esque legends like Newcastle and even Bangalore with smokes, and Mirage with that invis. I don't love that we are now labeling every reworked legend as Reborn, but it is what it is, and this is probably just code wording. The very rumored changes are no changes to her passive. The tactical healing drone can now follow and heal friendlies while it is attached to Lifeline, and the ultimate is some sort of reverse horizon ult that pushes players away. I guess this kind of does make sense, as you could support the team by pushing enemies away from knocked friendlies. I'm not sure about any of this, so it seems like a massive stretch, but it has gained a lot of traction. This also seems like something that would be more fit for Season 20 or Season 21 as well, since we do know that we are already getting Conduit in Season 19. This is pure speculation based on my experiences in the meta, but I could see some catalyst tweaks to make her passive fortification just a little bit less ratty, so maybe an increase in the time to reinforce a door after it gets broken. Maybe it takes 3 kicks instead of 4 kicks to bust in. She is a very good legend, and I think her turtling ability could be a little bit much when you are trying to push into her area. Bangalore and her smokes have also been going crazy over the past few seasons. We saw Bangalore nerf to her ultimate, but I would not be surprised to see a reduction in the prevalence of Bangalore smoke. Something like reducing the area a smoke covers, increasing the cooldown timer, maybe only having 1 charge, and maybe a slight nerf to how effective and just absolutely needed it is to have a digital threat on Bangalore or when you are playing with a Bangalore. I think it's awesome to pair up a DT with Bang and have some fun fighting in and around smokes, but it has honestly gotten a little bit much, and this has also been accelerated with the After Dark maps during Season 18, having that increased DT spawn. I also think both Vantage and Ashe are fine legends, but their power ceilings relative to the others in their class is pretty low. I would love to see buffs to Vantage's passive and maybe her tactical, and absolutely another buff to Ashe's tactical snare. It's laughable how bad it is when you compare it to so many other tacticals, Fuse Clusters, Mad Maggie Drill, and so on. Other than this, I don't expect to see too much, but I am still always looking out for some quality of life buffs for Mirage, Crypto, and maybe even Octane, as he has kind of been the same for a really long time at this point. The weapon meta is tricky. Apex's weapon meta is honestly in a great spot. There's a lot of choices that are viable, which is great, and often the meta just shifts based on what is going into the crafter or the care package. So with this, I think we can see some forgotten weapons going into the care package. Its 2 seasons run is up, and the L-Star should be returning to the ground. I'd be down to see something like the R301 going in, as it's kind of weak compared to the Hemlock or the Nemesis and even the Flatline, or maybe even the Spitfire. While the Spitfire is an okay option to just mow over big teams or lots of groups of people, it's really not that competitive in the TTK. Another option I think that would be cool is to see the 3030 repeater go into the care package. We have had the G7 in the care package before, and with how popular the 3030 is, I would not be surprised to see this happen to reduce its overall use when it does come out of the crafter. For specific buffs and nerfs, I get that not every weapon can be viable. Weapons like the P20 and the Mozambique need to be those starter weapons, so you can't have a sense of power increase as the match goes on, but the Devotion is laughably bad, and it definitely needs a buff, probably in damage and recoil control. I think the Alternator, even with disruptor rounds, could use a small buff to make it more competitive with other SMGs, maybe a base damage increase, maybe 1 bolt in the mag increase as well, and the only other thing to to look at, I believe, is the longbow. It's outclassed by nearly every other gun that performs in a similar manner, and a slight damage or fire rate buff I think would be helpful for this gun. Let me know what you think of the weapons in Apex. Do any of those guns need buffs or nerfs? Drop a comment down below. Ranked in Apex Legends continues to be a volatile subject and one that has vastly changed over the past couple seasons for better or worse. Respawn has already outlined their intended direction for the mode on Reddit. Before I go really hard on ranked and the problem I do have with it, I will say I love that ranked feels way more sweaty now. It prioritizes winning a little bit more, which was definitely needed. In my opinion, more packed endgames makes for way more exciting Apex experiences when the stakes are higher, and overall, I love that players aren't just incentivized to run stupidly at enemies, get a few kills, and just re-queue. You can go play pubs for that, and I like that your actions simply just matter in ranked. However, they doubled down on the current matchmaking system, which matches players not based on their visual rank, like silver, gold, diamond, platinum, masters, and so on, but rather that behind the scenes MMR or skill rating. I get that this might make matches more fair in terms of skill, but it extremely decentivizes the need or even want to actually rank up. The symbol you earn means absolutely nothing, which sucks, and it also makes every match at any rank feel odd, as there's no actual progression happening from the matches getting easier to harder based on when you are ranking up. The good news is that since you are match made based on your hidden rating, you will now be able to play with anyone at any rank, so bronzes can queue up with diamonds and so on. Beyond this, Respawn is again going to be tweaking the bonuses to allow players to get into their actual visual rank sooner, so this should alleviate the grind a little bit. And the second or third thing that they are doing is making it so your provisional matches better place you in your deserved ranked rather than a full reset like it kind of was the past 2 seasons. I'm very hesitant on all this as a whole. I love the sweaty games and the intensity, but really I just can't stand that your visual rank and symbol just means nothing. Can we also just talk about how you can't even show this off to other players in game anymore? This just hammers home the point that your rank is really just kind of pointless. Moving on, Season 18 saw a bunch of After Dark maps enter the fold for spooky season, and this actually somewhat links us to the mixtape rumors. The OG POI Thunderdome of Kings Canyon is expected to come into the fold as a new playable map in the mixtape playlist. I'd love to see more of these older maps or POIs return that are no longer in the game. Usually we get more than just one new mixtape map as well, so I do expect there to be a couple more maps than just Thunderdome coming into the game. For new modes, we also have some sort of rumored rotating objective mode, something with treasure where you either capture objectives and or get kills to earn rewards. Following this, we also have the newly announced Post Malone event, which is pretty awesome. I love Post Malone. My wife loves Post Malone even more, but we don't know much about this yet. However, I don't believe we have ever had a celebrity linked event in Apex, so it's definitely going to be something unique, and we do know that this is going to be a 2-week long thing at minimum, and I believe this launches on November 7th, 1 week after Season 19 start. This links us together with some possible cosmetics. The artwork of that trailer for Post Malone seemingly has some sort of skin. It almost looks like Mirage. For heirlooms, the most likely option is probably going to be Mad Maggie, who is the oldest legend at the moment to not have one. Beyond this, I could see Newcastle of Season 13, and maybe even Catalyst of Season 15 skipping Vantage, as Catalyst has been gaining a ton of popularity as of late due to the overall viability of the meta and just how prevalent she was in the past ALGS championship. It of course makes logical business sense to release the heirloom of the legend who is the most popular right now, and EA and Respawn obviously need and want that cash. For prestige skins, Lobo was also rumored and or leaked very recently to be on deck to get a skin, which I think is pretty cool. She definitely is one of the more popular legends when it comes to skins and lore. Coming out of a season that was all about Revenant and even some ways Loba also just makes narrative and logical business sense. No big news to report on this next subject, but cross progression continues to be something that all Apex players want and something that has been rumored for a long time, I think more than 2 years at this point. We continue to get a couple more in-game files and leaks and data miners picking up stuff that does hint to cross progression, so we know it is on the way. Not quite sure though if it will be coming in Season 19. Apex continues to get slight graphical improvements over the seasons and certain things like getting modernized healing animations and certain legends hand animations. However, Apex on console definitely needs actual next-gen release. 120 FPS is a must. Real stability improvements would be nice as well. And Apex needs to continue to push visual updates. I'll also just insert here the mandatory game engine improvements, audio improvements, and things that we have all wanted for a long time. We need to get past the days of a Horizon silently walking up on you, shooting in back, or the ring noises completely canceling out any other audio. Season 19 is slated to release on October 31st. I also have a ton more in the way that I cannot share yet, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. Hit that like button and let me know what you are most excited for down there in that comment section. But till next time, happy gaming, legends.